going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the Culture to Christ podcast. We're your hosts, Alex and Aaron. Thank you guys again for joining us. We have another great episode for you guys. If you haven't already, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Like this video. Also subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Leave a review for a Q&A episode coming soon. Today we're going to get into a bit of the current circumstances in our country and around the world. Aaron, you can touch on that right now. How you doing, man?
Well, I'm happy that we got maybe our last skate in, right, last night. It was a good session, but they announced today, lockdown Monday.
Stage one, right? Stage one.
So back to how it was at the beginning, back in March. No gyms, no physical activities. You can't even eat outside of it. So before, when they said everyone spend crazy amounts of money on patio gear, right? Because you gotta prepare for everyone to be eating outside, even though we live in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't even use that patio gear because you can't even serve customers. It's only takeout.
And do you think the government knew that this is going to happen?
For sure, it was in their plans. You don't just, when they come out with regulations and rules, they for sure take into consideration. And like what you said, the frog in the warm water, where they don't want to spook people out right away. So they'll slowly ease into it, being like, we'll give you guys a couple months to see how you guys do, but then be prepared for another shutdown. And that's what's happening right now.
And do you think them doing that, like making the tents, setting it up, the government knew they were going to do that because they're trying to get them out of business and trying to get rid of the small businesses?
I don't think they want them to have to close down, but they're definitely not helping. Like you telling all these people to get ready for patio season in December or November when it's already cold out. It could, because you're telling people that you're not allowed to have the maximum capacity inside. So invest in your company. Even though you guys aren't making money, but spend more money to have people eat outside, and now you take that away from them. It's like, what do you're making it an unfair how should I say it? It's unfair circumstances for them. Like they did everything that you told them to do. They take contact tracing, right? Like what Tig said at Lagerman.
Track everything.
They track everything.
Clean everything, right? I work at Lululemon part-time. We do everything. You follow this system that you think the government, okay, let's listen to them, let's trust them. But people are starting to wake up to it. They're starting looking at numbers, who's getting sick, where the sickness is happening, tests. Are the tests even valid? Can we trust the tests? You can even speak on, you were going to talk on Elon Musk.
Yeah. So Elon Musk, he did 4 tests, right, with the same company to see what type of results, and 2 tests came out positive and 2 came negative from the same test, the same time. So that just goes to show you that all these people who, when they test positive or they test negative, you don't even know unless you're doing it multiple times. And even if you do it multiple times, like 4 times is pretty excessive to me.
Yes.
You shouldn't have to test yourself 4 times. And you get 50% different results. It's like, what are these tests even testing for?
And that's why the virus is now it's just the fear. It's not because you can even get sick because you're wearing the mask too long. So,
and you know what they said too? People not switching their masks, because if you keep wearing the same mask, the germs obviously build up on that. But then just what? So you expect some, because not everyone uses disposable masks, right? That's kind of a luxury for some people, because you like to use it one time and throw it out. It can get expensive. So some people who just invest in one mask, if you're wearing that mask every day for the last 7 months, 8 months, and you're not washing it, you're gonna get sick from the germs in the mask you shouldn't even be wearing.
And then you have the symptoms of all COVID. You start coughing, you'll start sneezing. And then they're like, oh, I might, that's the COVID. And if I go get checked, we don't even know if the tests are legit. So there's a lot of people maybe getting checked that say, I have COVID, and they're actually now staying indoors, and really they're healthy living human beings. So
you know what happened too? I forgot to tell you yesterday. So Josh, who owns Hockey Lion, right? He called me yesterday, and he's like, he was feeling pretty down because he was supposed to come play hockey with us, but he's like, I might not come. I'm like, oh, why not? And he's like, one of our part-time workers, right, 23 years old, committed suicide yesterday.
Man. Because
he just couldn't, he was already dealing with, emotional stress from COVID, and just his shifts getting taken away, just regular bullshit. and he ended up committing suicide yesterday. And like Josh was so distraught. He's like, see, in the news, they will never talk about that, right? The government does not want to take any ownership, or they don't want any correlation from what they're doing with all these shutdowns to people committing suicide. And he's 23.
23 years old. And there's, pray to, his family. There's definitely many others like him that, like you said, aren't being reported. People don't want to talk about it. The news won't cover it. Everything you look at the news, COVID cases. Let's look at suicide cases. I bet you suicide cases are probably equal, if not more. And not even suicide cases, but like guys having to go to therapy or go on medication that's destroying their bodies, making them, all this mental health medicine that doesn't really help the problem. It kind of just subdues it, creates so many other hormonal issues, and there is more damage being done that's not from the virus. And I think it's disrespectful that the media wants to constantly push this whole COVID virus when we've had, let's say, 8 to 10 months now. If it was that dangerous, we'd be able to see it for ourselves around, right? I work in a mall. I'm around people all the time. No one's dropping dead of COVID. I work in a mall. People, no one of us has COVID-19, right?
And
what
even
is really
if you
going on?
even if you do have it, right, you could have the flu, and like for so many people, it's the same type of symptoms, even less for a lot of people, right? It's like what? Because someone has the flu, you're gonna shut down someone's business? We've had the flu for so long, and I hate when people try to tell me otherwise, being like, "Oh, it's different than a flu. Like you can't breathe." Those are like compare the amount of cases from those people saying that they can't breathe to the asymptomatic. Every person that I know personally that got it, like Scotty, the goalie at Iceland, no symptoms. He's like, "Yeah, I was asymptomatic." Like, so what does that even mean to me?
It doesn't have any weight, but like we said, the media wants to force you to really believe in it. And for you guys that are wearing the mask, you should change it every 4 hours, because what happens is because you're breathing in that your carbon dioxide is constantly on the mask, you can get bacterial pneumonia. So basically what happens is, because you're wearing your mask, so you have that one mask, right? It's like a Nike mask, whatever. You wear it all the time. You want to go out with your friends, but you have to wear this mask. You're breathing in that bacteria, which then inflames your lungs. So then you're coughing, you're getting a runny nose. And because you're watching the news, what do you think you have now? Oh man, I have.
And no one's you said 4 hours. No one's switching their mask every 4 hours.
No.
I'll tell you, I'm not.
How do you have the money?
There's no chance.
First of all, it costs money to buy the mask.
Even if I had the money, I'm not carrying 10 masks with me for the day, right? Switching out. It's like, it's so stupid.
So I now have to clean my mask, because I have a Lululemon mask. It's nice.
Yeah.
But I never thought of like, man, I should be cleaning this thing, right? Like you're taking in this, like look it up, guys, bacterial pneumonia, because you're breathing in this stuff over time and you're having all this mucus, and you're going to think, oh, I have COVID-19. You most likely don't have it. You don't need to go get checked either. Don't even get tested until you're literally like you might have to go to the hospital. I think.
How about that guy last night who wore the mask on the ice?
Oh my goodness.
And then he ended up having to take it off because he's like, yo, like it's too fast out here. Like I can't breathe. Like, why are you even coming on the ice with the mask? Like, you're playing hockey, you're sweating.
I always ask people where they do their research. Like, do you just listen to the news and then just go about your day? Like, I try to, like, why don't you just do some research? Like the body and like needs to move. You need to take care of yourself. You need to play hockey. That's where we're like, hopefully this lockdown's not in York region, because men, and women, we need physical exercise. We need to do things.
Yeah, we all need it.
We need to move.
You know what's so dumb too? Like, shout out to Hockey Lion. It's our buddy Josh's store. Like, they have really good hockey gear as well. So they're a one-stop shop. So if you go to Hockey Lion, not only can you buy gear there, they have a mini hockey rink where you can rent out your skills.
Cool. That's really cool.
And
man.
a gym, right? So you shutting down his business, right? When a lot of people in Richmond Hill, like, they send their kids to go, have training sessions there and work out. So it's not just buying gear. And now when they when they're going to shut him down, those kids who are already enrolled, what are they going to do? You already screwed up their school schedules, because a lot of kids aren't even in school right now. They're homeschooled.
Yeah.
And now you take away their physical activity. It's like, what are they going to do? Just sit home and play Xbox all day?
Yeah. And we talk about how the children matter most. They're the most vulnerable. And even in today's time, that the fact that they're already so zoned out on their phones, now you're taking away any real experience in life, any social experiences at school. Now if I'm in grade 10 online class, what? In courses I don't even like. Now I have to watch my teacher teach courses while I'm chilling at home. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to play Xbox. Like, and we already have,
Like, what are we promoting? That's what you're saying.
we're promoting
You're promoting fear
and honestly mental disease, mental
and
health
obesity.
sicknesses. Yeah.
Obesity as well.
And sickness, because we look at, the people that are really running these governments. It's not about taking care of massive populations. It's about taking care of the certain few, and then we're just kind of pawns in their plan, right?
And you know what they said? And so like 2-3 months ago, the government was saying, well, you can go outside and run, do physical activity, rollerblade, this and that. Now we're getting into winter. We technically are in winter. How do you expect people to go out for runs and biking in when it starts snowing? It's supposed to snow in a couple days. So now I want to see someone ask them those questions. When you have gyms closed for 28 days, it's like what? Just what they want everyone buy Pelotons in their house,
dude.
Spend $5,000, $6,000.
Yeah, and like,
where's the serve money at?
What is the? It's so funny. They're paying us. It's like they're paying us to stay in prison. I tell people we're in luxurious prisons now. Like,
some of us, some people, like, they're living in poverty and losing jobs.
True.
Where it's like, now what do you want them to do? And if they don't even get because especially for our listeners in the States, I know so many people in the States that still complain about they haven't even got their first paycheck from the government, because it's 300 million people over there compared to us. We have 40 million, right? So it's a different ball game down there, and they haven't even got their first couple paychecks from the government.
How many checks are the government in the United States
Probably
giving people?
Probably once a month.
Once a month?
Yeah.
I thought it was one. I thought that was like the whole thing was that they're giving them one.
I guess it depends on how much your income is and like
is.
if you have a job or not. But the people who lost their jobs from COVID, a lot of them haven't even got their first paycheck.
That's wild, man. And you were even telling me the numbers, how restaurants and gyms, like the COVID cases, most of them don't
4%. 4% of cases
come from those areas.
Were from restaurants, and gyms. Over 40% were from old folks' homes. So if you see the numbers are 40% at old folks' homes, why put the focus on restaurants and gyms in that industry, right? Or even at stores? Why don't you focus on the long-term care centers, the old folks' homes, who, there's a reason why they're testing high there. And who knows if those people are even doing their jobs properly there, because you see how they get mistreated.
Well, in Quebec, right? That was the whole case in Quebec, because almost so many of them died because they're already being treated like shit. And then obviously COVID happened, so of course they're not even being looked at. I think apparently some were like they were still in their diapers with shit and piss all in their beds, and they died, right? So there was cases there, charges placed there, but
they still took advantage of that situation, because a lot of them died from pre-existing conditions, from other things, and they just say COVID.
They're older.
It's like, bro, come on.
You don't die from COVID. You die. You die. Yeah, you have a heart attack. You have diabetes. You're obese. You have a weak immune system, and COVID comes, but you're not equipped yet. You're not prepared. So yeah, of course you die. So I think they should isolate the older population, the vulnerable, and let the ones who have to take care of their families, take care of their mental health, add to society, add to the economy, continue to work. That is the purpose. We're meant to do things.
Don't decide people's lives for them,
I think that's what happens too. When you even mentioned how you like younger politicians, because when the politicians are all old, who do you think they want to look after? Their friends, their family.
Not even that. Just their mindset is, it's they have an older mentality from the past. You look at all these past experiences and these, like they talk about SARS and all these other cases, and they try to replicate those same instances to today, and it doesn't always translate, because nowadays, especially with social media, people see through the bullshit. Like, if 9/11 happened today, man, it'd be like people would be going crazy, because you couldn't get away with what happened, like with what you got away with back then, without social media and people having phones. They can tweet from anywhere. They can post videos. So now it's like we need younger leadership who are forward thinkers, and they don't live in a fear mentality.
So
That's a problem with right now.
Yes. And what would you say to listeners right now that maybe they're in Canada like us, and the lockdown has happened? What would you say is different from this one than from the first? What have you kind of seen in your demeanor when the first one compared to this one now?
It's going to be less severe. So now you're going to see a lot more companies too just being like, fuck the rules. We're going to stay open. We'll risk getting the ticket because, what's the difference? We're already a sinking ship anyways. Like a lot of these restaurants, they're already losing so much money where it's like, who cares? What's a ticket going to do? We'll go fight it.
Exactly.
So you're going to get more people who, even I heard on 680 News that a lot of the small mom and pop stores, like retail stores, they're complaining because Walmart and the big box retailers are allowed to stay open, but the mom and pop stores who sell the same things in maybe one or two aisles in Walmart have to close. And they're saying that we sell the same things in Walmart. Why can't we stay open and we'll have like less people come in our stores? We'll cap it at like 2 to 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, you guys have to close. But Walmart, Home Depot, all these huge companies huge businesses can stay open, and the small companies have to close. Doesn't make sense.
Does the government have any money they're getting from those big Walmart superstores? Is there some kind of contract they have that?
It's because they employ a lot of people, so they don't want those people to get laid off. But it's still, it's like, why not just let the smaller mom and pop stores stay open as well? Because you're okay with just ruining their business? Like for what? To save, maybe they only get like 10 customers a day right now. So let them at least get those 10 customers or 20 customers so they can, pay their rent, pay their hydro.
So that's when I ask you, do you think that the government doesn't, because like you said, it doesn't make sense. How can these big superstores stay open? They employ a lot of people.
I think they're just contradicting themselves without like.
You don't think they see the evil in it? You don't think
I don't
they're
think
actually
I don't
aware?
think they're trying to put businesses out of like, or like they don't. I don't think they want to just these businesses to close their doors forever, because I don't see what's the point of them doing that. Like, what would be the reasoning behind them wiping them out?
Them just wanting to make more Walmarts, get those people, and just go become employees at Walmart. Like I'm seeing them just become part of either government-funded organizations where the government can control you. Like, don't create your own business, don't grow your own thing. We're going to take you out, but hey, go work full-time at Walmart. Go work full-time at Costco.
And the crazy thing is, I can't even argue against that, because what we're seeing right now is the government not giving a fuck about small businesses.
Yeah.
So,
because I signed up at a gym right now, Sky Fitness, and I think they're fairly new, and then COVID happened. So, there's 10 people in at a time, but it's like if they had a new business they're running, why are they going to listen to the government? Like, their business is going to go out. They can't. It's like we have to have people coming in. We can't be saying no to members that want to come try out the gym. Like, we have to get, unfortunately, there's the law and stuff like that, but sometimes you got to work around it because, we know what really is the law, and the system sometimes contradicts itself. It's a running hypocrisy, and people need to be able to think for themselves to be like, what, I got to break some rules here. You know what I mean? Because the reality is, I'm in a better position, I know, in some people where they need to have their business open, or they don't have a place to sleep. They don't have food on the table for their kids.
And it's been like that for how long now? It's like we're talking about this 8 months in, and it hasn't changed.
Like I told you, I feel like we're for COVID-19 update news. It's like we're constantly having to talk about this.
And the only reason why we're talking about this now is because they just announced today that it's a lockdown, like back to stage 1. So that's big news, right? Like that's gonna change a lot. Well, not change a lot of things, but just takes away all the progress that we thought we were making.
Exactly. And I think that's another thing too. It's like you said, that guy committed suicide. It's almost like when you never feel like your life's going to get into a routine or back, and you're not progressing, and you see growth. It's almost like it's a very hard hit, especially because men today they're dealing with a lot of depression. The world, is trying. Well, if we're going to get in today about how to build a life for yourself during these times and how to take advantage of the time you do have.
How to stay motivated. That's what we want this episode about.
Yeah.
And especially in a time like this where there's not a lot to be motivated about.
Yeah, it's very difficult, but, we know men and women out there, they're suffering from depression. I want to focus more on men because I think men don't get the benefit of the doubt a lot of times. We're kind of meant to kind of take it and just work, but we're not really unconditionally loved as much. and even in terms of, being masculine, being a man, wanting to do the right things is very hard in today's time, because now it's just, we live in a world of offense where it's like, if a man wants to be a man, it's like now it's he's just being offensive, or he's being mean, he's being rash. And that's why you see the suicide rates going up, because men are confused now. We have to adjust to the culture of who we are. But a lot of men, we can't even be ourselves.
And you take away people's their social lives.
Yeah.
Like you can't even, people are used to, going out, hanging out with their boys, and now it's like, that's against the rules. It's, you get a ticket for doing that. So it's like now you just isolate people and they're alone, and you get what happened with Josh's employee, and and they're gonna blame that on like some mental health issue, when it's like it's COVID related. Like all his employees knew about it, right?
I wonder if they put suicide as with COVID-19 because of all this bullshit.
I won't be surprised.
Right? Like, and that's like, but now it's like, does COVID-19 want to be related to that? They want to be related to diabetes and heart attacks. Do they want to be related to mental health problems? And I know a lot of people can relate to that. And it's hard because, suicide itself affects the people left here. The person's gone, but it affects the people around that person, because they start to think, did I do enough? Was I there for my friend, my brother, my mother, who knows who it is, right? Like it leaves an impact on people that are left here.
And he told me he was already dealing with low sales because no one's playing hockey. Why are people going to come to a hockey store? He said more people were asking about wanting to use the rink than buying the gear because there's nowhere to play. So it's like, they don't think, like the government officials who make these policies, they don't think about the trickle-down effect, or they do and they just don't care because it's public perception. There's like, we want to keep people safe.
And that's why we're going to talk about mindsets, because, you and I having athletic mindsets growing up in sports, we kind of see life a certain way that's kind of innate to us. It's second nature, whereas a lot of politicians are kind of on that, I think, on the opposite spectrum. In terms of, we want to break it down for you guys.
We need more of that Patrick Brown mindset of, rinks open for the boys.
Rinks
right?
open for the boys. I would do it. If I was mayor, I would do it, because men need to play. Men, boys, we need to play. Like we even said how guys need to have a beer after the game just to talk to the fellas. Relieve some stress, maybe some anxiety or something, some crap going on at work or the game, or we need to have that, right? Boys need to play in the sand kind of stuff. Yeah, so if I was mayor, drinks open. Not paying either. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But we're going to break it down into 3 points of how to stay motivated, how to keep going during these times, how to have God in the center and the foundation of that. We're going to first start with your lifestyle, so how you stay motivated in your life. And I always say your life is what you make of it. Like your life right now could be the way it is based on what you've been currently doing. It's just a result. And we all have the ability to change and make small choices so that our life is not as, like we said, dark and depressive, but there's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel. So I'll let you start on now in this time. What would you say to some listeners, all listeners, on things they can currently do, say in lockdown, or trying to figure out how to stay motivated, keep going in their lifestyle, in their life?
I think it's all circumstantial. So like people, especially like, let's say you're single, right? Or in a relationship, you're going to have to find different ways to get motivated in both situations because it's completely different, right? And we know that in a time like right now, for a single guy to stay motivated, right? It's like, what are your routines and habits? Because all of our routines have changed. It's like, let's say your routine is, I go to the gym because I want to start my morning and, get the blood pumping. I want to, get the cardio going. And now you can't do that. What are your options? So now it's about, you got to adapt, and you have to see and the crazy thing is, like, if someone, let's say you live in a condo, right? And you don't have a home gym, and you need that physical exercise to help you get motivated and start your day. Now that person has no option. What, are you going to go outside and go do weights? Like, no, you're not. So you're forced to go run. Let's say it's snowing outside. That's why it's so hard. This episode about staying motivated, it's so circumstantial, because right now it's like so many people feel stuck.
Yeah, so I think in terms of finding the routine that's going to keep you. I think a lot of times we struggle with our thoughts, right? So men struggle with the thoughts in our head. I think the best way to do it is we all have the ability to have pen and paper in our hands. So if you're struggling with certain thoughts, write them down. Because the best way we can get the thoughts that are playing in our life and playing in our routine, maybe in this dark time, get them out in paper so you can read them. A lot of times for me, when I was struggling, even during lockdown in my past life, when I used to call myself a depressed person. I would keep my thoughts to myself and let that replay. So I think the one thing that we could all do is have pen and paper and write down the things that we're currently feeling or struggling with. Just start by writing those down. We all have that time now. If you're going to be in lockdown, you're going to be indoors, you have the ability to write down the things that are messing up with your head. That just, that they're dark, they're evil. Write it out so you can actually read it. Because a lot of times too, if we're actually able to read, I feel insecure, or I feel like a loser, I'm still single, all these things. You read it out loud, you're actually able to hear it back. I think
that's actually therapeutic too, because having the courage to write out, those things that you're actually thinking and dealing with, that takes a lot of courage, because you don't want to, you writing it down, it's like a conviction to yourself. It's like you actually admitting, right?
Yes.
The stuff that's bothering you instead of avoiding it.
Yes, because we know a lot of times suicide and guys getting to those places. One time in my life, I actually felt suicidal one time. And it's because I was getting to a place of such severe anxiety and almost like thinking myself to destruction. I was thinking so much about every single thing in my life that I have to get done. My brain felt like my brain was about to explode. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. What am I doing? And we needed to realize that we need, God at the center to give him everything. So even if I'm writing stuff down, or if you guys want to write stuff down, just also pray about it to God. Like you said, we need to humble ourselves and give away. We don't have to live in a lot of men deal with the pride and ego. They want to keep it to themselves. Now is the best time to write it down. You don't have to share it with anyone but God, and just write that stuff down. Because once you can get that out of your mind, you can clear up some space up there, right? A lot of times we're so cluttered. I think the best way is to first remove. Like we always think we have to add stuff in. I gotta, add more workouts in, go do this now. It's like, wait, people deal with severe addictions. You're addicted to your phone, your Netflix, your cigarettes, your alcohol. Let's try to focus on what can I remove during this time that can give me the free space to actually even write stuff down to see, who am I? Why am I struggling?
And the same way you said, write down those, the struggles that you're dealing with, you also write down the goals you have for yourself, like just a couple of them, because that actually motivates you to be like, I want to change my focus from just the things that are holding me back to the things I want to work on, right? Yep. And once you write down, like I remember I did that too, is because when I came out of the gambling addiction, when I came to my brand, I had to write, not write out physically, because I just type it out on my phone, but in my notepad, I just wrote different things that I want to do, just so I can have that reminder. Because sometimes even when you don't write it down, that's when you get the anxiety, because you have so much shit going on. When you write down certain things, like this week I want to do this, right? I wasn't, people have 6-month goals or year goals. That I never did, because I was like, that's impossible to keep track of. And things change all the time, where you're gonna be able to
variables.
Adapt. Yeah. So I just did weekly. I said, for my releases, this week I want to get this done, this design done. I want to meet with the supplier to see different quality, this and that. But it was just weekly. They go week by week. You can even do day by day as well.
Yes,
especially now.
Daily.
It's a lockdown, so the days feel the same. So
that's why we're saying you can also take this free time, because you might not get it again. So holy cow, you know what? Maybe let's not look at what my routine was taken away. I can now add in a certain area of my life that I wouldn't have had the time of before. Right, because a lot of us, we're good at maybe our physical health, we're good at our mental health, we're good at our spiritual health, but we have one area we're lacking. We're like, you know what, I now have this opportunity where I can work on my faith. I can actually I have more time to read the word, or I have more time to do more research on, depression and anxiety, why I'm dealing with these things.
Even to work on an addiction right now.
Exactly.
You have time. It's all about that mindset, right? You change the perception of this is a time where I can, day by day just try to work at this. And you know what's hard about that as well, because we know that with the gambling, because now there's the only thing some people have or to watch games. You're stuck at home. You're working from home. It's easy to have
The
a
NFL,
game
right? A
going
lot of
on.
guys are probably betting in the NFL right now, right?
Yeah, so I had a couple guys reach out to me last weekend. He's like that were saying they're like, how did you? Because they wanted to quit, and they're like, how were you able to quit without having the withdrawal? And I was honest. I said the withdrawal is gonna come. You can't. That's something you can't avoid. I felt it. Everyone who stops who cold turkeys sports gambling, you get that withdrawal.
Yes.
So you start feeling like, fuck, I want to put money on this game, and that's something that, because I kept praying, and like I was at the point where I can't do this alone. So that's what I told him. I said, you may have to start praying to God, because
You
you
can't
can
do it
only
on
do
your
so.
own.
Yeah, you can only do so much.
Yes.
You're gonna want that same feeling of putting money down, and that comes from your own. I'd say your own. It's not pride and ego there, but there's like dopamine rush.
Yes.
It's natural.
And it feels like you're suffering because you're missing that dopamine rush. But we always talk about necessary suffering. Like, there is unnecessary suffering that a lot of us do to ourselves, and there's necessary suffering. So even for me, coming from a health perspective, I ate like crap during the first lockdown, and I was eating maybe too much sugar-based foods. And I know I'm trying to quit those now, and I'm having those same withdrawals. My brain's like, hey, let's get going here. But I know I'm like, I have to suffer from this, take this withdrawal with God, knowing I can conquer this, right? A lot of times we were building such a weak, vulnerable, victim mindset into people that the second things get difficult, they think it's not the way it should be. No, it's exactly the way it should be.
Yeah, you can't skip the struggle.
No, and we talk about that over and over and over again, how maybe politicians don't really have that competitive mindset. I always tell people, life is a competition. You're an athlete. I don't care if you don't play with sport. You're an athlete now. Life is your competition. There's going to be wins, losses, struggles, lessons, all these different kinds of things.
You're right, because politicians, when they lock things down, they're basically telling people, we want to keep you safe by closing things instead of building your immune system,
Yes.
going out and working out or socializing. Like,
Yep.
Rather than deal with the issue in a way that you actually have to have action behind it, just shut it down.
Inaction. Don't move. Do nothing. We are made that. I always talk about how Jesus is competitive. When Jesus was baptized, he then went 40 days, 40 nights and fought the devil. And no one wants to talk about that. This guy went 40 days and 40 nights. He was fasting, and he was tempted to do bad things, tempted by the devil to do things. So our government's telling us now to stay indoors, when I'm telling people, no, it's time to, you don't have to fight being like, I'm going to go commit harm and commit whatever, go on riots. But it's like, no, I'm going to go do it and take care of myself. If I take a ticket, I take a ticket. Because it's getting to a point now where it's stay indoors and get sicker. It's never about staying indoors to get healthier. It's not making us healthier. The numbers will speak for itself. You do the research on the numbers. We already went over that. You need to start thinking yourself as an athlete, meaning it doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. Everything is for God. So when I go through a struggle, I go through a strife, you guys listening go through a strife, it's for you. It's meant, okay, how can I adapt to this? How can I improve from this?
That's why it's such a hard time. This is probably the hardest 100% in my lifetime, right? That, this has never happened before. So finding that motivation today, when the government's is locking stuff down and taking away people's ability to socialize and to do the activities they love to do, because it feels like a crime. How crazy is that? Like, playing hockey feels like a crime now. Eating in the mall feels like a crime. Like, me and you, when we were at Square One trying to eat, having to evade mall security and shit,
it's
it's
weird,
a joke,
man.
right?
Yep.
So it's that's why this episode we have to keep instilling and trying to promote people that there is a way that you can use this time to better yourself, because we can't just come out here and be like, the next 28 days just be the same person that you were before it.
Yes.
Or just come out of it the same.
And we know you guys listening are the ones that want to be more aware and wake up to things. And I think the biggest thing too is we live in a very black and white society where it's sometimes if we're too critical on ourselves, we quit very easily, or we're so judgmental, or we're not getting to where we need to be, or the lockdown, we feel like the lockdown's taking away everything we could have gotten to. It's like you have to see the light. You have to constantly seek the positive in every situation, right? Because you and I can go, man, lockdown, no more hockey. It's like, okay, I can't play hockey. That's my mental health thing. Keeps me going, keeps me good. I have better rest. I know when I'm not playing hockey, my anxiety or depression increases. I'm like, am I going to be like, man, hockey's taken away, so I'm going to sit in my depression and anxiety? No, I got to figure out a way. How can I battle this during this time? And
You know, another thing for motivation in life, you got to ask yourself, who are you living for? Right? Family members, a spouse, you know? If it's just about you, that's when life can get unmotivating, because everything you're doing is for yourself, and it's not something that's self-fulfilling, right? We know that the biggest feeling you can give yourself is the feeling of helping others or paying it forward, right? Seeing someone that you invested time and money in progress, because that's like, it's an impact you're making on someone else's life. So to help stay motivated, you got to always think about who are you doing what you're doing for.
And that's another great thing for ladies and gentlemen, to write down. If they've been constantly now living for themselves, and now the life that they do is always for them, and now it's taken away, it's like, okay, you know what? How can I make an impact with the things I'm doing? I'm writing down the names of who I'm doing it for as well. You know, that because it's very easy. I think a lot of times, even with suicide, it comes because we're trying to build people to be their own gods. We always talk about it, narcissism. Instagram is all about you being your best self. Love yourself, or you're your own God. You can make your own life. And if you're constantly building your own self up to be your own God, and then things don't go right, or you lose your whole business, your Instagram account gets hacked and deleted, someone robs you and you lose everything, you've built yourself up to be that way. And because you get so high, I always tell people, you're trying to get so high. When you get low, you get very low. You get very dark and very depressed and very dark, and you realize that maybe I got to stop trying to be my own God and just live in a healthy, balanced life and help other people, right? So when I'm doing things, if I'm doing it for others, I know that there's always purpose and meaning behind my life, regardless of
Keeps you grounded too.
you have to stay level-headed. You have to stay level-headed, because this world is
That's the
not for you.
That's one of the beautiful things that COVID did, though. It helped put a lot of celebrities in check, because now you're not touring. You're not the man in every city you go to, because there's no club events. So it humbled a lot of people. And I think there's obviously positives that happened through COVID, and there's negatives, but that's one positive that I can say, because I've seen it firsthand that a lot of people who thought they were the shit, now they're learning the hard way, being like, you gotta humble yourself, or God humbles you, one or the other.
Yes, and this world will always forsake you. Like, things will be good for a year, life might be good for 5 years. This world will always let you down. People don't. I think a lot of times it's hard. It's a hard truth for people to bear. So they get into these victim groups. They build their own ideologies. They get in these hatred groups of hating some other person. Let's find the scapegoat to reason why we feel all this pain. This world will always forsake you. God will never forsake you. I try to remind people that if you don't have that foundation with God first, this world will always let you down, no matter how good things are for a certain amount of time.
Because God's ultimate goal for you is not on earth.
Yeah.
It's for you to get to heaven.
Yes.
And the things you have to do to get to heaven are not of this world, right?
This world is...
The devil's playground here is for you to seek and destroy. That's what is promoted, right?
Yep.
And it's like, if you're living with that intention of, what are my goals here? And like the way I look at it is, if the goals or the things I'm pursuing here aren't helping me get to heaven or have no impact there, if it's just like short-lived and you just get on the highs and the lows and the roller coaster, that's what leads to depression. Why would I want to do that? That's why the gambling, for me, the highs were high and the lows were low, but it's always that depression and the anxiety. It's not sustainable.
No, it's like once you're depressed, you're trying your best to get out of it. But it's not peace you're trying to strive for. It's this exhilarating rush, right? And then that exhilarating rush doesn't last. It lasts, a minute, 2 minutes, maybe a day. Sometimes you hit a great hit.
And you can't even sleep.
No.
So it's like, what are you doing it for?
And this world will always make you think you need more of it and you need to chase more of it. I think in terms of you guys and your lifestyles, the external focus is less important than the internal. You know, we all have our issues and our demons that we need to work on, take accountability for. You know, personal responsibility and accountability is important during this time. So when we talk about, you know, I was talking about writing things down, that's taking personal responsibility and accountability for your life first. You know, yes, you might have the luxury of having parents or friends and, you know, people helping you out. At the end of the day, you need to, nobody's on this earth is going to be here for you as much as you can be here for yourself. And to know that God's leading the way, you need to take responsibility and accountability for the areas you're lacking in. Because if you do not, this, I think in terms of depression, anxiety, all these mental health stuff, like we said, there's also the spiritual side of life. And if you guys can start to...
That's if you can get there, though. The spiritual side, you have to be able to get to that side where like prayer, it becomes a habit. Yeah. And you start looking at problems and things that they're not just for you to tackle. Like you can ask God to help you in certain situations, right? If you don't even have that in your mind, that's when you think you have to do everything yourself. So the spiritual side is something that needs to be practiced and worked on.
Yes.
Right? It takes time. Like for me, even my mindset changed because I worked on it. It didn't just happen overnight, right? Like prayer and staying motivated spiritually, which we'll get to, that takes effort and takes work. Mm-hmm. So like when you write things down, like about, you know, the stuff you want to work on and your goals and different things that, you know, that you see for yourself in the future, I think that's when you have to decide what are you doing internally to help you fulfill those things. You can't, like, the action is good, like taking initiative and, you know, putting different ideas and plans into action. But that can't just be the be all end all, because there's going to be dark moments. There's going to be times where you start doubting yourself, and you got to ask yourself, who's there for you? You get what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah. No, seriously.
And like that's when that spiritual side, that's when that kicks in.
Yes, it can't be empty actions. You can tell anyone, go do all these things, until you know the reason why. Like, God is the why, the how, the what, the who, the where, the when. He's all those things at once. He's in every scenario. There's not like he's only the why. No, he's when. He's the how. He's the where.
You know, that's why some people, when they pursue something that doesn't work out, who do they blame? Sometimes they blame God, or they don't see that as like, they don't see that dead end as like a lesson that God's trying to be like, this wasn't even meant for you. So we see some people that keep forcing it, you know? Like,
and God's like, God's like, I'm trying to take you out of this. You don't listen to me. The devil's trying to take you down. You keep going into these wrong addictions, these bad relationships, or these bad deals. And God's like, I'm trying to constantly end them to give you something that you actually want to do.
Like, I personally know this one guy who he's been trying to be a rapper for, like, it seems like over 20 years now. Keeps putting out music, and like, that's why it's a weird situation, because it's good that, like, he believes in himself, but at some point you have to be realistic, and you have to know that maybe your talent, you just don't have it, right? And that's a hard thing. That's a hard crossroad for people to embrace and to admit to, because we're always told that you gotta strive for what you want, you gotta earn it, right? But at some point, if that's not what God blessed you with, and I wish you could see it that way, and it's not my job to tell him that too, because I don't want to be like I'm judgmental. But
sometimes it's the Twinkie that's hung on a string, right in front of the animal, the donkey, and they're constantly running after it, and they realize they'll never get it, right? But the cherry is always being glanced in front of you, and you're constantly chasing it. And you're right. Sometimes the reason why it's taking you 20, 30, 40, 50 years is because it was never meant for you in the first place. But
see, when you don't, and it's not just if you don't have God or you don't see it, but even if, like, if you have too many yes men that are, like, leading you in the wrong direction, telling you, like, you know, just keep at it, you know, like, you're sick, and even though you're not a sick rapper.
That's very dangerous. Yes men are very dangerous. Yeah,
that can be translated in all different avenues. So it's like, pursue, the only way personally that I'll know that I'm pursuing what's meant for me is through self-reflection and prayer. Because you'll know deep inside if what you're doing is what you're called to do. And that's the beautiful thing about this podcast is I get the DMs from people who are like, you know, like the one I just showed you with the Tiggs episode, how that guy is like, he felt it, you know? And because it's not self-serving. Like, what we're telling people is not for our benefit. It's not for our gain.
No.
It's like
Like, yeah, there's some gains, like, but that's the bonuses we talk about. God gives you bonuses. Like, I pray about things before I come to this podcast. I'm trying to think about that person listening. And self-reflections, prayer is what you're talking about. For me, it's like if you have a lot of yes men in your corner telling you just to do these things because maybe they don't want you to succeed, or they like that they feel like they're above you, so they want you to keep doing what you're doing, yet they're growing their business and they're doing great. They want to keep you where they are. I think for me, is when I read the word, it gives me such humility and calmness that once I focus, because I always say, like we talk about, we'll get into the spiritual part of it, but for me, it's like if I read the word, I then know what to do next because I'm with God. Like being with God is knowing his word, knowing his truth, knowing his son, getting to know Jesus. I'm then calm, be like, I don't have to do these things that constantly give me anxiety. And I'm constantly doing them because when I was a 14-year-old boy, I said I wanted to do this.
But I
have to come from it.
And that's a blessing that you can be in that mindset because you put the work in and you're actually living out what you're saying and like what you believe. Because a lot of people, like they could say, I pray once in a while, or I pray when things are good, right? Or on the opposite, you can only be one of those people only pray when things are bad, when you need God's help, right?
Yeah.
And when things are good though, you forget about all the blessings. When you have a good meal, you forget to thank him.
Yeah.
And it's like the closer you can get to that point where he's in every situation, good or bad, because I'm at that right now, and that took time, right? And it took commitment. Same with you. Like it took time.
And that's a perfect timing during the lockdown. It's like now if you're in faith, you do believe in Jesus, you have all this time. You can actually spend time just reading the Bible. You don't have to go anywhere. Like just start by reading a verse a day or something. Like
and not even having to just read a verse. There's so many good videos on YouTube that that promote how to live a life with God without actually having to read the Bible.
But you have to get to the point where you have to read
eventually. But I'm saying that for new listeners that are coming into faith, I think that there's we put a lot of links out where there's beginner guides to how to build that relationship, right? And once you get that feeling, now reading the Bible, that just adds another layer of conviction.
Yes, because it has to be, you find those certain pastors, celebrities, whatever, that you're like, I like how, I relate to him. I like how he speaks, or I like what he does on the side. Like, oh, he's into sports. I'm into sports too. Cool. Oh, he had a sex issue, lust issue like me. Oh, he's being open about it. I can connect to this guy, because we're all the kingdom.
You know what the Bible to me is like? I'll relate this to hockey, right? The Bible to me is like, if a beginner who's trying to get into hockey is trying to learn the game, I wouldn't tell him go watch an NHL game and learn from that.
Yeah.
Right? I'd be like, you have to actually learn on videos on how to skate.
Yes, 100%.
Right? On how to the fundamentals of what it is like to play. And 100%. Then after you watch an NHL game, the same way after you start reading the Bible, you start to learn and like actually see like, oh, these are, now that I have the fundamentals on, I can actually apply these things that I'm seeing into my own game. If you just go straight from not having any background of faith and not having any not even knowing how to pray,
you're reading a different language.
Yeah, you can't just jump into the Bible.
No, you're reading a different language completely, and it's gonna actually might deter you and make you feel like it's too hard, it's too much for you. It's like you said, strapping on skates and going to play with NHL hockey players. Like, go play, go perform.
And we as Christians too, you can't live in extreme.
No.
Like, I would never want to put someone like let's say someone just came to me, like, Aaron, I want to start living that Christian lifestyle. The first thing I would do, I wouldn't just be like, here's a Bible, you got to read this. You got to start like,
I should give context. So listeners who already believe in Christ, right? Believe, go to church, pray, all that stuff. You need to begin reading the Bible. You proclaim your faith, start reading the Bible. That's important.
The food.
Yes, that's a food. You need to eat it, right? Like, you want to take care of your health, you eat good food.
Exactly.
So you're already Christian, you believe, you go to church, you have this time during COVID, start reading the Word. So I should have given context on that. What came to my mind is mentors. Men also struggle because they lack mentors. Either they don't have the father in the household, or their father's not someone you want to look up to. He, is abusive, physically abusive. He's a drunk alcoholic, or he's so bitter and upset about his life because he never did anything he actually wanted to do and grew up in the system that a lot of men are lacking mentors. So I think during this time in lockdown, it's important that you start looking and searching for a mentor, someone that we can look up to because we like their lifestyle. It's not about comparing. It's about, what message they're spreading. You send me a lot of stuff about Craig Rochelle, Life Church. That's someone that's a mentor to you. You look up like the videos because that keeps you. There's someone I can look up to.
And he's talking about motivation.
Yeah.
He gives me motivation when I see his stuff.
Exactly.
It's always uplifting.
Yes.
Right. He can actually change your perspective.
Yes. And as men, we need a brotherhood. We always need other men who are older than us, who have life experience, who have done things. Great things, but also bad things. They're able to, like we always say, express their struggles. They lived in culture for so many years, doing drugs, violence. Who knows what they did, right? We need those mentors because even for me, when I was in my time of struggling, I was constantly looking for guys who were older, maybe in a career I liked, that were going to share something, because I was looking for hope. I was looking for, I'm in this dark time. Who can I listen to, that will constantly give me that little fire in me to know, like, I was talking to Lincoln that's like, taking a bus at Humber College, and just being like, okay, here I go. Like, I'm on this bus. Let me listen to, at the time was like Gary V, whatever, motivational stuff. Like, yeah, it's not so Christian focused, but it's something that was keeping me going.
Doesn't always have to be Christian focused.
Exactly.
It's balance. It's about balance.
It's finding something, a voice at the time that's like giving you that, okay, you know what? Like, even though my life's not where I want it to be right now, I'm looking to the horizon. We always want to say, if someone is at a place in life that you maybe want to be or you like their career, it's like, get to know how they got there. Like, learn about the hours in the gym they spent. The
process.
The process.
Not the end. Not the end result. Not the flash, the flash and dash, right?
Yes.
That's
right.
too much focus on. That's Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram likes like the end goal, the microwave era, right?
Yep.
No one wants to work for things now.
Yep.
And so back to the motivational part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into how to stay motivated spiritually.
Do you want to tie that with, say, guys who are running maybe a business at this time or small?
Actually,
business?
yeah, you're right. Yeah. So we jumped out. Let's talk about staying motivated and in business or in like the thing you're pursuing, the hobby that you're trying to turn into a business.
Yes.
Because that's a big thing right now.
I think in the world of consumption, we live in a big consumption world. Like, just consume, buy materials, buy things. In this time of, say, you're in lockdown, or you're trying to have to make transitions. You're in a physical space. Maybe you have to get into the digital space, right? Like, we still have the access to the phones. Let's not abuse it. Let's use it for our own business. Where now it's like, instead of being the consumer, let's be the creator. We have to start making content. Most of the world just sits back and kind of consumes and sits back. Or it's like, okay, you know what? How do I step outside my comfort zone? Now is a time where I can work on my mental health, work on my issues, maybe eat a bit cleaner, take care of myself, or I got to step out of my comfort zone. If I'm running a business, small business, a mortar store, how do I create that to go into an online space?
It's anything. It's like your like, let's say you're a musician, right? Who's trying to build a fan base. So how are you going to do that digitally? Because right now you can't do concerts. You can't get out there. Like, certain studios, you can't go inside, right? So now it's like finding that motivation to put yourself out online and try to build that fan base organically. Yes. And I say organically because don't think that the success that you want overnight is going to come overnight without you having to compromise yourself and go viral.
Yes, I think that is the biggest. That's a good point, man. The dangers of trying to go viral is you will no longer be unique because the algorithms, the apps determine what's viral based on their profit margins and what songs they want to promote, all that stuff.
And it's also culture based too. Yes. So Nelk Boys, right?
Yes, yep.
And the stuff, like, I see so many people trying to replicate like what Steve will do and all these guys are doing because they see his life and they want that for them. So they think if they do these viral things with their boys, that's going to make them like Nelk. And like that's the world we live in today because it's monkey see, monkey do. And that's like the danger parts of like not just having bad mentors, because Look, when I watch an elk video, I watch it from a different lens of like it's just entertainment. I don't want to go and start being like them, but like being able to differentiate, like because so Sean Avery was talking about Nelk Boys too, and he's like I give these guys props because they're hustlers. They came from nothing. Like you've seen them at the gym before, so you can respect them in terms of the grind and the work they put in to build their brand and where they are now. But you don't have to try to be them.
No, that's the worst part is the second you try to be someone that's already there, you never win. It's like if a rapper's going to try to sound like Drake, he's going nowhere. We already have Drake. Why would we want someone trying to now just...
You can sound like Migos, because if you sound like Migos, you'll blow up
yeah.
too.
Like, you have to be, okay, that's why I always go back to God. Like, there's one of you. God created you specifically. So that means you have a gift that nobody else has. You yourself is the gift. Now, are you going to be confident enough to own it and to then the slow grind build something over time?
Slow grind. That's
slow.
Yeah.
And people don't want... Slow means 2, 3 years, 4 or 5 years.
It might not even be that long too, but you have to be willing to accept if it does.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Right.
Like, you just look at my business, right? No one thought that it would blow up that fast. I didn't think that. But I didn't even think of like trying to blow up. I was just like, I'm going week by week a release and see where it goes. That's how you have to. Now I just apply that mentality to anything that I'm doing. Because once you don't have an end goal, you can actually allow the process to work. And that's how you stay motivated. Like I was always motivated by, since we're talking about having motivation business-wise, I was always motivated by just the little things of just like the designs I was getting and tweaking little designs, seeing like how people are responding to, Instagram post I put up or a story. That's how you find motivation. You don't find motivation in thinking, oh, did I make this amount of money by this date? Or did I get this many followers? It's never like that. And if that is your motivation, if the end goal, like money and followers are motivation, it's going to be short-lived.
And it's a very empty feeling as well.
Empty as well. Because at the end of the day, it's like those are just metrics. Like the numbers, what can you do with those numbers at the end of the day if there's no love behind it? People see through it.
Yep. That's why even in this podcast, I just get excited to do an episode a week. I get excited meeting you. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. I like the fact that I'm working on my faith more away from the podcast. You know what I mean? Like it's not about, oh, now I have to become Christian.
Yeah. So I even got a message 2 days ago from someone. He messaged me. He's like, would you guys, are you guys going to go back to putting out 2 episodes a week, right? And that was motivating to me and uplifting to me because that this guy wants 2 episodes. And I responded back and I just said, right now we're doing 1 episode, but who knows? Maybe we'll get to the point where we're doing 2 episodes a week. Mm-hmm. And you see, I never had that intention of trying to do this to impress other people. Mm-hmm. I was like, I always told you, Alex, to focus on the value and the messages we're putting out so it can build organically.
Yes.
Right. It'll reach people and they stick with the people who actually look forward to listening to it and can take away the messages we want to promote. That's all I wanted to do.
And that's the magic thing about organic, where now with social media apps, I think if you guys have a business and you have to take it online, focus on, who you are, what your brand is, make it unique to yourself, and spend time on one app. Like if you're going to do something, just focus on one app. Don't get anxious on you hear Gary Vee, you got to have TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, focus on one app, one channel, where you can
one product as well.
One product, one
That's what
thing.
we said before. That's what
Yes.
I said before. Focus
Yes.
on one thing and do it well.
Yes. Don't half-ass a bunch of different things because you're not sure. Focus on it, and it's okay to fail. Like focus on it. Take all the lessons from that failure. You have the time to now write down the certain things, write out what you want to get done. You have the time. If you have to then transition to an online,
the world is so fucked up now. 2020, we know this is the craziest year where what is even failing? Today failing, it's literally means nothing.
Yeah.
The world is upside
the
down.
whole world's failing. You're good actually right now.
Yeah, your hobby or your business failing, it literally means nothing. Don't let that stop you. And if it does stop you, makes you pivot to something else. Good that you learned a lesson.
Exactly.
Right? I think now is the best time to fail because there's so much fuckery going on, and I'm swearing right now, but this is organic. This is how I feel.
Yeah.
Where it's I'm fired up for entrepreneurs who, they can use this time now to build something.
What a blessing.
Yeah, it's
We talk about taking that mindset shift,
and look,
not
and
a
so
victim.
and so right now we're getting into December, so the new year's coming up, and that's how you got to be thinking. You got to be looking forward to 2020 was a shit year for everyone. It might be a good year for you too, especially
There's
for
some people
yeah,
who
that
made
ma-
huge life changes.
of course. So
know?
like, but for it's like I want to talk about from both sides. So if
Yeah.
2020 was a bad year for you, you got to be looking at 2021. What are you doing differently
What can
in
you-
every aspect? Like, emotionally, physically, right? Your habits, your routine, what you want for yourself. It may sound like a lot. That's why Alex said write it down, so your head's not like spinning. You can't. If everything is up in your brain too, you're gonna forget things. You're gonna put off. You're gonna avoid things.
Yes.
That's what I used to like when I was doing the gambling. I used to avoid like things like that I wanted to actually do because I was like, no, like I gotta focus on the gambling. You get lost.
Yep.
But if I actually wrote down like this is what I want to do,
Mhm.
and that takes
It
courage.
courage and it humbles you very, very fast. And I think a lot of us too, because there's so many people doing different things during this time. Be very careful on who you're listening to, who you're trying to trust to do certain things.
Who you're hanging out with. Say it like that.
Yeah, who you're hanging out with, who you're listening to for advice. Look at the fruits of their own life. So not just what they're talking about, right? What they're talking about doesn't matter. What are the fruits of their life?
What are they doing?
Yes. What are the results?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, someone can talk to you about what they think and what they want or what they're planning. It's like some people are always planning and nothing ever gets done.
And those people are the ones you have to be I don't know, not be scared about like talking to, but you got to be aware that the people that have all the ideas but no action, right? That might trickle down to you.
Yeah, you might be that guy.
And they might try to be telling you, because I know some people that even to me, like they're all talk, or they'd be like, yo, like we got to do this together, and then once you call their bluff, like, okay, yo, I'm ready to go, and they make excuses, or they're not ready to pursue things. That's when you know that this person, it's a joke.
Yes.
So move on.
And a great lesson I learned for myself is I never talk about something until I'm doing it. I never want to mention something until it's being done.
Yeah, you don't even want to talk about something when you're doing it. Talk about when it's done.
Yes. Finish it. I
don't even have to tell people like your process.
Nothing. Right? Like you can have the idea, put it out there, and then it's like, all right, get the ball rolling. If people have questions, they can ask questions, but for me it's you're wasting the effort and your creative ability talking about it. Right? For, this podcast, I don't talk about what I want to talk about in the episode. It's like we'll go meet, have conversations, and then I'm praying, I'm writing some stuff down, but I want to save. Even sometimes when we sit here, I'm like, yo, let's not talk right now because I have a lot of things I want to fire out, and if I fire out now, it's not going to be on the podcast, and that's stuff that's beneficial. So just in general in life, when you're working on things, if you're spending all your time talking about how great these things are, you're getting yourself excited and you feel like you already did it.
And the crazy thing too is if you're talking about what you're doing to people, they're not even happy for you anyways. Like, I'm sorry to say, but like 95% of people who you're telling your ideas to, or telling like your goals or things that you accomplish,
they don't give a shit.
If anything, they're just they're sour, they're mad, right? Just even like, yeah, you can share it with your family, obviously, but I know even some people that come from families who they try to put them down and they don't even celebrate their success. They try to tell people they should be doing something else, right? To tell their kids like, I don't think that's good. I think you could be doing something else. So it's like, why even share it?
Don't. I've learned a lot in my life to just keep things to myself. A lot of us struggle with pride. A lot of it's a pride and ego thing. If someone is doing something that's close to us and it triggers something within us to know that we always had this vision or dream to want to do something big, but we didn't have the courage to do it, and then we hear someone close to us do it, it can trigger us, right? So sometimes we're never really the best ally for people. And I think we get defensive, or we're like, oh, you're just doing this for this, and you can come up with any excuses for people trying to strive for things, but you have to really even look at yourself 5 years from now. If you're doing something, who do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What's the place you want to be?
That's too far though.
No, but I'm saying
Like 5, 10 years.
But some people don't have visions. Some people, I'm saying, in life they're very like just now. Like I think you and I naturally we have the visions. Like I think when you get to a point when you're going, and you have those.
But I never told myself or I never envisioned myself like 5 years from now or 10 years from now. I just focused on what am I doing now? Like what am I trying to do now? Right? That's living in the now.
Living in the now, but it's like if you don't have the right tools in the now, it's like you tell someone that live in the now, but it's like, okay, but what are those actions every single day? What are those actions every single living to, right? Because until you have the results that bear good fruits, what you're doing now doesn't really matter. Because say if you're living in depression and you have drug addiction,
I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah. So you're talking about like the lead up.
The lead up, because
yeah.
We're coming from a place. You and I have had successes, right? So we know that what we do is going to get those successes because we have evidence. If someone never has the evidence, they need to go like, I'm here now, based on what I did 5 years ago, right? So I'm in this, I'm living, maybe I'm right now living at a buddy's basement because I got kicked out of my parents' house, whatever. I got fired from my jobs. That's because of what I was living like. The results of my life now is from 5 years ago, right? So it's like,
I think that's okay to look back on that after you get to that point. But I'm talking about in terms of looking forward. Like I would never tell someone envision yourself in 5 or 10 years because that puts a lot of not only puts pressure on them. It's like I myself don't even know what I'm going to be in 5 years or 10 years. Yeah, I don't know.
But you also have the self-efficacy and work ethic. Like you work very hard. Like,
so I guess it is circumstantial.
It's circumstantial because like you and I.
Because some people need that 5 year, I guess, runway, right?
If they
do that confidence.
Yes, because you and I have tools from sports, from school, from friends, from creative outlets that when you and I met, it's like we kind of clicked because we had certain mindsets that I know a lot of people were not given because they didn't have parents to help them out, to push them, to motivate them. So they've constantly just been living in like my life is now.
The problem too with like that the 5 or 10 year outlook is people take advantage of that and they abuse. They think, oh, I don't have to, like 5 years is a long time. I could, I don't have to kick this habit. I don't have to take any action today because I still have so much time, and that can be a handicap.
Exactly.
For some people.
Because like you and I don't drink, we're not doing drugs or smoking and stuff like that. Some people might have that issue. So it's like, I always say 5 years from now, I want to be sober. If I want to be away from this addiction, it's like
it's definitely a good goal.
Yeah.
To have. Yeah.
It's about because I think it's like we have to realize that people are at different places in terms of certain issues. So like some people have like a severe porn addiction, right? Or they're doing weird things with their boyfriend, girlfriend, where I did that 5 years ago. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to come from a place where I'm telling them what to do where they're in a really lower place. So in terms of, for me, it's just like empathy, where it's like, I'm not going to tell a guy to like, yo man, hit the gym 7 days a week, 2 hours, because I just do that instinctually.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So I'm saying it's like,
it's all based on their own circumstance.
Yeah. So it's like, if you haven't ever disciplined yourself, because you and I have certain habits, disciplines. We like to take care of ourselves. We think about how we perform on the ice. We do certain things. If someone's never grown up in athletics, never pushed themselves, they just want to be told, you're amazing, you're good, you don't have to strive for everything. Here's a trophy. Like you're not going to strive. You're not going to get to a place you actually want to be, right? And it's not about building ego or getting to a place. It's like, you know what? Where I am currently in my present life, I don't like. I have mental health issues. I'm doing drugs. I'm on medication for a mental health issue my doctor told me to get on. So if I'm currently, this is the fruit of my labor. So the fruits my life has right now is because of my life I was living up to, based on what my parents taught me, what I learned from my friend group. So now it's like, if I want to get to that other place where it's like, I'm sober, I have a job I actually enjoy, I have a business I have to enjoy. Okay, so if in a year I want to get to this place, okay, how do I get to this place? Let's write down those things that you and I already do kind of instinctually, right? There's so many things that I've learned in life that I learned so much from you that I wouldn't have learned, where it's like, if I was like, man, Aaron has all these successes, like I'll never get there. It's like, no. How can I know that he started a different place than I did.
But that's
right?
why, that's when you go back to what you said about having a mentor.
Yes.
We all need mentors, right?
Yes.
You need leadership.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know everything. Like, if once you start thinking you know everything and you have like you can just do everything by yourself, right? That's, you end up getting into that place where you get confused.
A good, yeah,
You
and
know?
a good metaphor came to my head. It's like you're working very hard digging a hole. Like you're working very hard every day. You're just digging this hole. You're grinding. You're out in the sun, and this hole just gets deeper and deeper. And next thing you know, you're in a hole, and there's like you can't get out.
Because
A lot of people are like that.
even for me, like my mentor for the whole clothing game was the guy, I'll shout him out, Andy Dang. So he owner of Tiger Shark, right? He was the first one who opened my eyes to, how to run an actual clothing business because he did it himself. And he was grateful with his time and grateful with like his resources to show me like, everything from production to shipping, this and that, where if I didn't have him as a mentor there, how would I know? Like, there's only so, like, yeah, YouTube is a great learning tool. Like, you can use it and figure things out. But having a real life person who you can reach out to is, it's priceless.
Yes.
So, yeah, that mentor. And for people, for everyone listening, I know that it could be, especially now with COVID, all these lockdowns, it's hard to actually get out there and socialize and to meet people who could be a mentor to you. And that's when you have to, I guess reach out through Instagram and DM. It is hard.
It is hard.
But you know what? I find that if you actually put the work into like building like whatever you're working on, once someone sees your page and they see like the commitment and like the dedication in your posts and whatever you're promoting, they could see that and be like, yeah, why wouldn't I respond? And if they don't, they don't. But at least you put that energy out there.
Exactly.
Right?
And a good rule of thumb is if you don't know them, because a lot of times, yeah, God blesses different people by having people that they know, right? So it's if you do not know somebody, find a way to provide value in an area they're already good at for free. So
yes, you have to pay your dues.
Yes, find something that, like, you know what, I like how he does this, and I want to reach out to him. How can I provide value to him so that he'll want to have a conversation with me? Like, you know what I mean? Because, there's probably...
I even had to do that as well. Like, when I first started the clothing, right, I even, like, I told Andy, too, like, yo, any help you need, like, let me help you. Because I was humble enough to know that him helping me has... There's nothing I'm providing him with, right? So
exactly.
I'd rather make myself useful, like use me as like whatever you need to do, so I can like progress my own business as well. But you got to be willing to put in the time.
And we talk about knowing your role. So in different scenarios in your life, you play a role. A lot of times people want to be the leader, and they realize, no, man, at this point you're just working this area. This is your gift. Know your role. And one day you might be a leader in that area, but you have to be able to learn to adjust, right? And if you're reaching out to someone who's successful, who's done something you want, why would they want to help you? What have you done? They don't know you. They have no relationship with you. They're trying to help out their family, their close friend.
That's why, you know what you have to ask too? You got to ask, how can I be an asset? Can I intern for you?
For
Instead
free.
of, because I'll be honest, if someone reached out to me through a DM is like, I get that a lot too. Like, yo, how do I do clothing, or how do I make this, that? If you're just coming from a place right away asking, how do you think that's gonna make me respond to anybody? Right? You can't just, if you're a rapper, you can't just message another rapper, yo. Let's say you're nobody. Let's do a track together. Come on, it doesn't work like that.
When I was interning at Athlete Training Center, I got to work with a guy named Shea Pierre, and he's got a big business now. One of the biggest online trainer speed coaches in the world. And I was blessed. I saw the opportunity of interning. I was like, hey, man, I'll stay late till 4 a.m. I would just film his workouts. Said nothing. I'm like, yo, you need help filming?
And look how that helped your own Instagram.
It helped me grow like crazy. And like just helping him out, filming his stuff. How can I help you? Didn't ask for much, man. I'm like, yo, I'll film. How late do you have to stay for?
See,
okay, I'll film.
That just shows you that humility pays off.
Yeah.
And
like it was me being like humble enough, so like, yo, I see the opportunity. You have to be able to. That's the thing too, is you have to be able to see the opportunity. That's not quick fix cash. A lot of people just need, I just need that quick cash money. Microwave, yo, give me some money though. It's like, bro, you're not seeing the foundation you could possibly build. We can even transition to that into the spiritual part of your lifestyle. You need to know that your foundation needs to be met first, right? So it's like you're gonna humble yourself, help that person who knows who that person knows, who's watching, who's going to help you, being like, yo, this guy's a humble guy. He just works.
That's why they say the biggest breaks happen for people when they least expect it. In the places where it's like they wouldn't even think like, I'm going to meet this person, or, I'm going to connect with this guy. This person's going to promote me to someone else. Like, we don't know that because like we're not in control of how others are going to promote us. That's the one thing I learned. Like there's so many people that I didn't even ask for them to do something for me, that they just did it out of love because they saw either the passion behind my work or they thought it was cool, where it's like you can't pay for that.
You can never buy your way into something like that. And I think when we talk about the ability to work on your faith in your spiritual lifestyle in Christ, like I'm specific, I don't just talk about like, spirituality. It's like to know that you have to open your heart and be a servant. Not be the God, not be the leader, be the servant. Like, how can I serve in this area, expect nothing, and be so grateful for it? How can I be so grateful for the opportunity to do something for free? Because that shows that I'm not in it for me. I'm in it to get some quick cash or because I want Instagram followers. Like, no, like I just did it for me. It's like I'm serving. I'm grateful that I have this because I know there's 20,000 guys, 30,000 guys that would beg for this opportunity that maybe don't even live in the same country. It's like take advantage of that and serve. And a lot of times because we have such egotistical, prideful, life, like things that traumatized us, that we harden our hearts, so we don't even want to see the opportunities anymore, or we can't even see them. We have to be able to open up our hearts a bit and be like, yo, like even if I serve this person or I give 4 or 5 months, 6, 7 months of dedication, I get nothing from it. I showed myself I'm capable of doing
and it's
that.
you never get nothing from it. There's always lessons, always like things that now you take
You're
away
right.
with
Yeah,
it.
100%.
It's like time is how you value it, right? So it's like, what would you have been doing differently with those 7 months anyways? Or those 6 months, those 5 months? I'd rather come away with a skill or come away with a new network or, a new connection from time that I put in, rather than me not just pursuing anything. Just,
100%. Staying
maybe
home.
even, or doing a job that I hate.
Yes.
Why the fuck would I want to do that, right? When it's like, I'd rather be putting time to something that I'm passionate about, trying to grow something. And if it doesn't work out, you can pivot.
Yes.
It's like,
That's a very good point. It's a good message for people that you're better off to serve in an area you enjoy and you're good at for free than to just go to a full-time or part-time job that you have no passion in just to get some money, because that's a quick way to die. That's a quick way. That's a slow death.
And we know a lot of people who they do both. Like, they obviously have to
Yeah,
get some money in, right? So
Yeah.
they have to work a part-time job, and there's some people that work 2 jobs. But if the one thing you care about and you're passionate about is something that you want to pursue and like have a business related to it, there has to be some suffering. There has to be, sweat equity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we said from like, I think it was episode 9 or 10 when we said you can't skip the struggle.
That's a good memory you have.
Yeah, because I remember like that was I actually sent it. So my cousin, I sent that to him because he was telling me like asking me about how the whole resale game works. Like he wants to get into it, right?
Yeah.
And I said like he's always asking what product should I get, and like I was like, it's not like that. You can't just go for that product because everyone's going for that product. You got to focus on there's bots you need to get. There's a lot of shit that goes into reselling, but people they just see online. They just see I want what's trending now. How do I get that? And I said like first of all, maybe you should actually listen to the podcast and change your mindset.
Yes.
And that's why I sent them the episode. I was like, you got to change your perspective, because you're always jumping from one thing to the other. And look at your life right now. Like you're getting into reselling, and that's not even who you are. So that just goes to show you that that's how so many people's mentality, they like to, jump into what's hot without even like knowing like, how is this going to provide for your life long term? I wouldn't want to, if you're not good at something, like if you're not good at something, you're not passionate about something, the results aren't going to be there. I'm sorry to tell you.
100%. You are your biggest asset. Therefore, you need to take care of the internal first to know where you belong. A lot of people have no idea where they belong. So they're just jumping to things, right? Like, like my buddy made a lot of money in reselling. Oh, I'll go resell.
Yeah.
It
doesn't work like
Same
that.
Same thing.
Man.
My buddy's a drug dealer. He makes cash. I'm going to be a drug dealer. It's like, bro, like you don't even it's not how it works. You are the asset. Therefore, the best thing you can first do is know yourself. get to know yourself.
Identity crisis.
People need to spend this time in COVID, like we said, writing stuff down. What are my issues?
It's
Where
you know
am
what
I
it is.
losing their minds?
It's self-reflection.
Yeah.
That's the main thing we're talking about. Self-reflect first before you try to jump into anything and everything. So I think we should move into we should end off with how to stay motivated spiritually. It's a tough time right now. Like, even for me as a believer, like, there's so many times now where it's like today when they announced that lockdown, I got triggered. I was like, bro, right when we start playing hockey again, I started messaging Flores. I'm like,
and I can empathize with you because you came from a serious like knee injury. You took a puck to the face, right?
So I'm just getting back into my rhythm.
Yeah, and like you're a solid guy, man. Like you're always trying to connect to guys and get guys to come play hockey. Like guys reach out to you because you're getting guys for the games.
And I know so many of the guys that play on our team that haven't played since COVID started, who I want to reach out to them and be like, yo, get out the house. Just come for a skate. Because like, yo, if you stay inside for the last 5-6 months, it's like, bro, you
will lose your mind. Right.
I don't know how. Yeah.
So I always tell, in my time with my faith, in this podcast, I've gotten better, with my Christian practices. Right. So a lot of times, people say religion. I don't like religion. It's like religion is just practicing your faith. Simple. Right. Like you're an artist. You practice your singing. You're a sports guy. You train. Right. So for me, life is a lot of bad news. When you turn on the news, it's never going to uplift you and make you feel hopeful for the next day. It's bad news, right? And I know I'm going to give context. This is for people that are already maybe believe in God, believe in Christ, or want to get into it. The gospel is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the New Testament. Gospel the word literally means good news. So if you have a hard time in life, it's because all you're looking at is bad news. So of course shit's going to be bad. And for me, I'm naturally pessimistic. I'm hard on myself. I'm always trying to get better. The one thing that calms me down and humbles me, even during the time of COVID, I was having a lot of hard times. My dog, Hershey, that kind of kept me sane. I was lacking good news, right? In this world, we're lacking God, lacking any kind of faith. It's all about the now and what's going on, this, and that. We talked last episode about politics and how it's just based on corruptness anyways. You need good news. So if you're already, you maybe believe in Jesus or you believe in God, you want to start reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is the gospel, good news. Meaning no matter what's going on in your circumstances, your struggles, and your suffering, there is good news. That there is a savior, there's a redeemer, there's an overcomer of all your issues. In that the way to, I think a lot of people they say, even God, right? God can be whatever someone thinks of God, where the only way to God is through his son, Jesus. And the reason I say that is because if you actually read what he does, just know who he was as a human, it's inspiring, right? Because he changes the way that we talk about perspective and how we see the world. Because how you see the world is always bad, negative.
And it was always others first. It wasn't himself first.
Yes.
So he's always serving.
We talked about
the guy with who didn't need to do any of that. He could have just lived like a king, right? Like the pharaohs and just have servants and everything. And he didn't. He was serving others. That's the one thing that I took away. That, even when I was younger, when I was in Awana and these Bible schools, I would look at Jesus like. I would always think, why is he doing this for others? Like,
it's it doesn't make sense
because I came from the world's perspective.
Yes.
Just like you get what the hard work you put in. It's like you got to live for yourself, take care of yourself first, and it's like that's like the opposite. And imagine if everyone came from that perspective of others before me, like serve others, and I'm not even thinking about myself first. It's like governments would change.
Yeah.
All these policies would be different.
Yep.
You wouldn't be shutting down people's businesses. You'd be thinking of their businesses. Like, if this was my business, would I want to be shut down? Because all these politicians, their jobs are safe, right?
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, they're living in their coop. And I always tell people, you think life's bad now, bro. Like I always say when I read the Bible, shit's all bad. Like this world was way worse before, but until the good news came. Bro, you couldn't even go outside without being murdered if you didn't follow the king, right? So you praise God that you live right now because you actually have the opportunity to read good news.
You know why? And I say so the the basis of this episode, when we were talking about how to stay motivated, especially spiritually, when you get news like today of a lockdown,
Another
and some people
lockdown.
would be like, oh, fuck, I was praying for the lockdown to stop, and now we have another one. It's like, how do I stay motivated to keep praying? What would you say to those people?
I think it's changing what you're praying for. It's being thankful for what you already have, right? So it's like, if I always say, if you have legs, you can walk. You pray to God, thank you, God, for giving me legs, because I can go for a walk.
The most basic shit that we take for granted.
The most simplest things. The most, like, I get to go and give my mom a hug in the morning.
Because those people that don't have the basic life necessities of like food, family, shelter, legs, limbs, that's what they're praying for. Right? Those people that just got in a car accident that lost their limbs, or the 12-year-old boy that got shot and he died, right? Because he was grocery shopping, he was grocery shopping with his mom and he got hit as a bystander, 12 years old, and died. So it's like, like, your situation can always be worse.
Yes, there's people that are praying for the life you have, right? And so that's
not
why,
even the life you have, parts of the life you have.
Yeah, shelter. There's a guy I drive by on the highway, and he's out there every day, dirty and stuff, and he's the happiest dude ever, smiling. Hey man, how's your day going today? It's like, yeah, you're like,
maybe he's a fake homeless guy though.
I pray. Listen for me, okay? I've heard of that. People always tell me, like,
dude, by my house at the Shoppers, we saw, like, so my boy, like, we always see this girl, right? And she's always out there begging, and then my boy caught her behind the Shoppers getting into a nice car. And then he went after, tried to get it because he wanted to send to Six Flags, right? Yeah. But the car sped off.
Okay, so
I was like,
that's crazy.
It was Daniel. Shout out to Illy Dan, who he saw that, and I was just like, bro, I always see that girl there too, and it's fucking bullshit.
Here's my perspective on that. Me doing the giving of money
is for yourself.
Is for my heart and honoring God. What they do with it, that's them. So I think about that too. Like, I give this guy money all the time. I give him $20 bills, whatever.
Oh my God, yeah, you gotta chill with that, because you know why I say that? Because yes, you're giving it out of your own good, but if they're taking advantage of your situation, but I guess you'll never know, because you're not gonna follow the guy, right?
Yeah.
But it's like I would just tell you that to disperse it amongst different
homeless people.
Yeah, no, not just those different homeless people. You could be doing it in other ways. In other
ways.
But that's a problem. Once you see, because once I saw that homeless lady was fake, was a fraud.
That's very disheartening.
Yeah. But even when I was in California at a McDonald's, when I gave money to these people that were outside begging, and I said, "Here's money, just go get food," right? I saw them walk in. And they walked through the side door, and I went out. I'm like, bro, I just told you guys to get food, and they fucking started walking away. I was like, I'm never. It just puts a bad taste in your mouth. Like, why would I ever want to do that again?
Yeah, I saw a clip of Michael Jordan. Like, who was with him? I can't remember who the other athlete was. He was telling Michael's the most ruthless guy. Yeah, he was. I think it was Charles Barkley was about to give the homeless guy money, and Michael Jordan goes, "No, don't do that. If he can ask you for money, he can say, 'Hi, welcome to McDonald's. How may I help you?'" Yeah. So it's like, I heard that, I started dying. Like, it's like, if someone has the ability to walk and talk and do all these things, they have the ability to find a way, to take care of themselves. But yeah,
it's the ones I feel sorry for that are actually homeless, especially the ones with disabilities.
Yeah,
because obviously, like, if you have a mental health issue, or like you're mentally challenged, it's obviously you can't get a job anywhere. So it's like those people, it's like, I'd rather just get you a meal because I know you need that to survive.
Yeah. But
me giving you money, which can be used for drugs and other stuff, it's like, why would I want to feed into that?
Man, that sucks.
One time I had I think it was Dasani or a water bottle, brand new. It came out of a hotels in Chicago. I was like to a homeless guy, here's a bottle of water, right? The homeless guy's like, yo, I only drink Smart Water. Me and my boy were like,
he's a bougie homeless guy?
Yeah, he's like, yo, I only drink Smart Water. I was like, bro, what the fuck?
It's not going to make him smarter.
These guys are getting picky now.
Oh my gosh. I think, yeah, you're right. Some people, I bet you, I think even in Los Angeles and California, they're saying that there's like homeless cities. Like, people are building
Tent
lives.
City, it's called.
Tent City?
Yeah.
So they're building like actually civilizations on like,
dude, it's insane.
Homelessness.
If you go on Google, go on YouTube and search it, because I've been there in person. I've seen it. Literally, like, think of Young and Dundas. That whole thing just tents everywhere, like and it's like Zombieland.
And
walking
they
around.
built these tents together. They're like making families and stuff.
Yeah, it's like that's their
Jeez.
community.
Oh my goodness.
It's scary though. Like they say to only go there during the day because at nighttime, like they can come up to you with AIDS needles and shit and like rob you. Yeah, LA's serious, man. And like a lot of those guys there too.
See, that's why I just read the Bible. I stay. I
The
stay.
good news.
I stay away from. Yeah, I stay away from the bad news. I think that's a good place to end it off on. Is like there's always a relevancy. There's always another circumstance you can compare yourself. Just be able to humble yourself and, like you say, once you're able to actually calm your mind and be in prayer, you can actually focus on what's important in your life. I'm gonna read a verse of the day from Luke. What do we got here? Luke 6, 46 to, let's say, about 49. So we talk about foundation. This episode is about thinking about your foundation of your life, in your lifestyle, your business, and then in your faith. Hopefully one day you might come to a faith. Obviously you want one of Christ. So this one's called Build Your House on. It's called, but yeah, Build Your House on the Rock. So Jesus speaking, he goes, "Why do you call me Lord? And Lord, and you not do what I tell you? Everyone who comes to me and hears my words and does them, I will show you what he is like. He is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock. And when a flood arose, the stream broke against that house and could not shake it, because it had been well built." So your foundation, no matter how many struggles and strife comes to your life, if you build your foundation on something that's solid and sturdy, you'll never strive away. You'll stay true to your purpose and your meaning in life that God has placed upon you. But the one who hears and does not do them is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. When the stream broke against it, immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great. So if you're not first starting at the foundation of your life and who you are as a person, what things you need to work on, what things you need to get rid of, your victim mentality, the whining in your life, the woe is me, how can you take accountability so you're not constantly just building a foundation on sand? Because the second a storm comes, you get wiped away. And that's your life. And for some reason, no matter what you start, it always ends the same way. And maybe because you got to change the tune. You got to change the perspective. You got to go culture to Christ. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening today. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like it if you like this video. Apple Podcasts. Leave a review for a Q&A episode coming soon. Pray to you guys. Stay strong during the lockdown.
Peace.